Turning now to concerns over Iran. Iran is now helping Al-Qaeda terrorists based in the Islamic Republic to transfer Sunni fighters to Syria. Now, this news coming from the White House, which now suggests Iranian officials are backing opposing sides in Syria's civil war. Joining us with reaction, Colonel Oliver North. He is the author of American Heroes on the Home Front and a regular contributor here at Fox News. Welcome. Great to have you here, sir.
Great to be with you, Uma.
What do you make of this new development?
Well, I think it's a total misread on the part of the Obama administration as to what's really going on. Because, look, Sunnis and Shia have long held the philosophy that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so even though Hamas, for example, is a Sunni-supported and a Sunni organization, it receives support through the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Quds Force for nearly all of the terror activities they perpetrate against Israel. Second, they both, Sunnis and Shiites, want to reestablish a caliphate in that part of the world. And third, they're both committed to the idea of driving Westerners from what they call the lands of the prophet. And so the new sanctions announced by Treasury against two individuals, Jafar al-Uzbeki and Yassin al-Suri, both members of an organization called Islamic Jihad Union, based in Iran, should not surprise any of us. The fact that they're bringing pressure against these two and not against the government of Iran, who's clearly let this happen, is further sign of how wrong-headed the administration is, because this administration is bending over backwards to try to make sure that this so-called nuclear weapons accord launched in Geneva by John Kerry is going to succeed.
It's amazing, though, that this administration is not targeting the government of Iran for meddling in this way and backing these operatives.
I'll give you a prediction that comes out of the trip to Israel. The Israelis are convinced that what the sanctions lifting means is that the Quds Force and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the active direct action arm of the Iranian military, will become much more active now because they have more money to support those kinds of terror activities. Doesn't matter if it's Sunni or Shiite, as long as it's anti-Western, anti-Saudi, they're going to back it.
It's a very troubling development, particularly in terms of the stability of the region and to the U.S.'s closest ally, Israel.
Absolutely. And of course, what we saw on that trip to Israel is Israelis more concerned about the future than I've ever seen them. I had a very senior former Israeli.
You're just back from Israel.
We just got home here, literally yesterday. The Israeli senior leadership believes that this is the worst time of all to be an ally of America. They feel betrayed by what the Obama administration is doing. I had one of them tell me that John Kerry intends to be president of the United States because he wants the Nobel Prize for closing the Syrian chemical weapons deal, closing the deal with the Iranians on the nuclear weapons program in Geneva, and on what they're doing to force Israel into a box so that they have to agree to what Obama Kerry want in terms of giving up land for peace. And of course, they'll give up land, but they won't get peace. On top of it, Kerry is actively supporting the Eurozone's idea of an economic boycott against Israel. And so SodaStream, which is one of the very first products to be targeted, it can't be bought in the European Union anymore. That's the goal. While we were there, Tony Blair came to Israel to back up what Kerry is doing in terms of the economic boycott. And Kerry says Israel can't support itself economically or with security without this new plan. What that means ultimately is if Israel doesn't acquiesce, they will be boycotted all across the globe, and we will start cutting back on our support for joint projects with the military. Why this move
now, though? Why is it happening in such a way that's clearly showing that there's a bigger plan in play?
In what the Obama administration has done is they've decided they've got so few things of note that they can claim as successes in foreign policy. Their withdrawal from Iraq has become a disaster. What's likely to become a disaster is further withdrawals beyond a certain level in Afghanistan. The so-called Arab Spring has been a nightmare for the people in the region, to include moderate realists like those in Jordan and even the Saudis. And so what Israel is now looking for is a new alliance. Now, I'll give you a prediction. I see Israel aligning itself with Saudi Arabia because the Israelis believe the United States will not support them in dealing with an Iranian nuclear weapon, some components of which...
Who would have thought such an alliance was possible just even a year ago?
Well, again, the idea that Saudis feel equally threatened as does Israel, and some of the Gulf Emirates as well, by the Iranian nuclear weapons development. And they see Iran in this new deal as continuing the progress, probably with the help of North Korea.
Wow. Very disturbing news indeed.
Big developments today in the crisis in the Middle East as we get word that President Obama has quietly directed our intelligence agencies to provide some support to the Syrian opposition forces. It could be a risky move since some of our allies in the region are claiming that they are 100% sure Al-Qaeda has infiltrated these rebel ranks. In another troubling development, UN envoy, Special Envoy Kofi Annan, he's the guy charged with negotiating a peace deal with the Syrian president today. He has now announced that he's quitting. A frustrated Annan saying that his goal was to prevent scenes like this and stop the murder of innocent civilians, including women and children. But he now says he received zero help from the international community, in particular members of the UN Security Council, suggesting they've been bickering like children while people are suffering and dying in Syria.
Across that country, President Obama signs a secret order directing the CIA and other agencies to provide covert support to the opposition forces there. It stops short of giving them lethal weapons. Still, the rebels are getting their hands on them using a tank captured from government troops today to bombard a military base in Aleppo. The Assad regime is not backing down, with word it unleashed new raids against the opposition in Damascus, leaving dozens dead. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin is live at the Pentagon for us now. Jennifer.
Hi, John. Well, a senior U.S. official tells Fox that the president signed what is known in the intelligence community as a finding directing the CIA and other agencies to provide support to the Syrian opposition. The CIA declined to comment. However, the finding, which was signed months ago, we're told, stopped short of allowing the United States government to provide weapons to the Syrian opposition fighters. The U.S. Treasury Department, however, reportedly issued a license last month that would clear the way for private, non-governmental, non-profit groups to provide money to the armed insurgents, which could be used for weapons. Loosening of restrictions that occurred with little fanfare, we're told, last month. Now, the CIA has been helping the Syrian opposition with non-lethal support for some time, helping them with command and control issues, but stopping short of providing weapons at a base in Turkey near Adana. The U.S. has a large air base nearby at Incirlik. Meanwhile, the fighting is intensifying in what many see as President Bashar's potential last stand in Aleppo. This amateur video shows the opposition fighters targeting a government fighter jet. The governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia have been providing weapons and support to the fighters, including recent reports suggesting the opposition now has shoulder-launched surface-to-air missiles that could help even the fight with the Assad regime. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta declined to comment recently about any change in the U.S. position toward helping the Syrian opposition bring down President Assad.
The key right now is to continue to bring that pressure on Syria, to provide assistance to the opposition, and to provide whatever kind of humanitarian aid we can to assist the refugees.
It's notable that a day after a suicide bomber took out most of President Assad's national security team, the first news reports began appearing about the quiet assistance the U.S. and others are providing what appears to be a more organized opposition from bases in Turkey. John?
All right, developments changing there by the day, it seems. Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Thank you.